Summary of the Wave by Todd Strasser. Ben Ross, a history teacher at Gordon High School, shows his students with a film about the Holocaust as part of their course on World War II. Some students, like Laurie Saunders, editor of the Gordon Grapevine, and best friend Amy Smith, are moved by the movie. Other students, like David Collins, Laurie's boyfriend and a self-centered running back for the football team, don't even seem to notice. Robert Billings, the class creep, even falls asleep in the middle. Ben Ross is interested in how his students have different reactions to the movie, but he is upset when Laurie and Amy ask him how regular Germans could have ignored the horrible things the Nazi Party did, or even worse, how they could have joined the party. Laurie and Amy are still upset about what they saw in the movie at lunch the next day, but David Collins and his best friend Brian Ammon eat their food quickly and don't think about what they just saw. David tells Laurie that the Holocaust is a piece of history to him, which means it's something that can't be changed and won't happen again. Laurie and Amy's moods get better as the school day goes on. In the Grapevine offices, they laugh and talk with Alex Cooper and Carl Bloch, who are the class clowns. That night, Ross is determined to read every history book he can find about the Second World War in order to figure out how the Nazis were able to gain so much unquestionable power. But when he still can't find the answers, he gives up. Ross starts to think that maybe the only way to find the answer is to do an experiment that is exactly like what happened in Nazi Germany. He starts planning an activity for class the next morning. Christy, Ross's wife, admires how hard he works and tells him to keep looking for answers, but she worries about his obsessive habits behind her husband's back. Ross starts an experiment with his senior history class the next day. Writing strength through discipline on the board, he makes a lot of new strict, military-style rules for the classroom, and he works his students out physically and mentally like a drill master. He is surprised when the exercise gets his usually lazy and messy students excited and energized. When Ross walks into his history class the next morning, the students are sitting up straight and quiet. He knows that they don't just put up with the discipline he's giving them, they actually want it, so he chooses to take the experiment one step further. It says strength through community on the board, and he tells his kids to think about how great things can be if they all work together. Strength through discipline, strength through community is the new motto for Ross's class. He then introduces a logo, a name, and a salute for the movement, which he has chosen to call the Wave. Ross is impressed and a little nervous as the kids practice the Wave salute. Some students, like David Collins and his football friends Brian and Eric, like the Wave's ideas of hard work, discipline, and community. Other students, like Laurie Saunders, think the Wave is too militaristic and harmful to individuality. Ross thinks about how far he should go with the experiment and doesn't listen to Christie's advice that he shouldn't use himself as a guinea pig in his own lab. Still, Ross pushes the Wave even harder by giving out membership cards and making some students into monitors whose job it is to tell Ross directly about Wave members who aren't following the rules. Strength through action is the third motto he adds. He also tells Wave members to bring in new members from lower schools. At Gordon High, the social order starts to shift. Cliques break up, and even losers like Robert Billings are accepted by the cool kids. Laurie starts to doubt the Wave more and more. It makes everyone feel like an equal, but Laurie finds it creepy how, without thinking, all of her friends are going along with it. More and more kids are joining the Wave every day. Ross's senior history class is well prepared, on time, organized, and polite. Ross is shocked by how quickly the Wave has spread, and he wonders if his experiment could really change the way schools work. Laurie tells her staff writers at the Grapevine to find as many stories as they can about how Gordon High students really feel about the Wave, while students plan a gathering to indoctrinate new users. Principal Owens, the school's head, calls Ben Ross in for a meeting and tells him he doesn't trust the Wave. Owens tells Ross that the movement is just an experiment for the class, and Ross is allowed to go ahead with it. Owens does tell Ross that there are limits to these kinds of tests, though. When Laurie finds an anonymous letter to the Grapevine that talks about how members of the Wave used threats and bullying to get other kids to join, she becomes even more worried. Robert Billings calls himself Ben Ross's bodyguard, and Ross begins to wonder if the wave has moved into dangerous ground. Lori and David get into a fight as plans for the wave rally get closer. David says Lori hates the wave because it makes her feel not special anymore. Lori wants to tell Amy how dangerous the wave is, so she goes to the football game over the weekend. But she can't sit in the member-only section until she does the wave greeting. Lori calls an emergency meeting of the Grapevine team, and they put together an issue that tries to show what the wave is really like. On Monday morning, Lori goes to find Amy in the hallways to tell her about the paper that will be out at lunch. But Amy, who has always seen Lori as a competitor, repeats David's earlier charges and calls Lori names. There are a lot of stories and gossip going around school because of the new issue of the Grapevine. Ben Ross starts to worry about the moral choices he's made for the wave when one of his coworkers says that he has brainwashed the whole school. Later that night, Christy talks to Ben about the beast he made and asks him to stop. Ben says the kids need to be pushed even more because if they don't, they won't learn the most important lesson of their lives. At the same time, Lori finds the word enemy written on her locker when she leaves the Grapevine offices late after celebrating the issue with her staff. As she runs out of the building, David is already waiting for her outside. He tells her she's wrong for making the wave look bad, but Lori says she'll write whatever she wants, whenever she wants. David gets mad and grabs Lori, then throws her to the ground. He sees right away how bad what he did is and hugs Lori while apologizing over and over again. At the same time, Ben Ross works on a plan at home to end the wave the next day. He is shocked when Lori and David knock on his door, but he lets them in. Because they really want him to stop the wave, he tells them he will, but he needs one more day of trust. The next day, Ross begs Principal Owens, who is very angry, for just a few more hours. Owens has been getting scared and angry calls from teachers and parents alike. He has even heard that wave members are reportedly beating up a Jewish boy. Owens tells Ross that he will lose his job if the experiment isn't over by the end of the day. Ross agrees that Owens is sick and goes to class to stop the trial. He tells the class in history that there will be a special, last-minute gathering that afternoon. He tells the class that there is a national wave youth movement and that the movement's boss wants to thank the Gordon High students for starting it. Lori and David think Ross lied to them to get power. They refuse to go to school any longer and decide to skip class. When Lori is angry, though, she has to see the leader of the wave while she is sitting in a park. Lisa and David get back to school just as the protest starts. The whole student body wears wave armbands and waves wave banners, and Ross tells them that the wave's head will soon be on TV to talk to them. Some students, though, charge Ross of lying to them when the TV stays blank and signal-less, crying out that the movement doesn't have a leader. Ross yells that it does, and with Alex and Carl's help, he shows a huge projector screen with Adolf Hitler's face on it. Ross tells the shocked students that they would have been good Nazis because they blindly followed a movement, let other people make decisions for them, and gave up their individual rights in the name of equality that didn't exist because wave members were cruel and violent toward people who weren't members of the movement. Ross begs the kids to remember what this experiment has taught them forever. Ross tells Lori, David, Eric, Brian, and Amy he's sorry as the shocked students leave the hall. Robert Billings is the only student left in the room after they leave. He is crying in his seat. Ross tries to make Robert feel better and says they should go out to eat because they have a lot to talk about.
About the author. Todd Strasser is from New York City and went to Benoit College in Wisconsin. He has written a number of famous books for kids and teens, many of which are based on TV shows and movies, such as Jumanji and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. His best-known work, The Wave, is a novelization of a 1981 ABC television program, which may surprise readers. The TV show was based on the third wave teaching attempt that happened in 1981 at a high school in Palo Alto. Some of Strasser's books have been turned into movies. For example, the famous 1999 teen movie Drive Me Crazy was based on the 1996 book How I Created My Perfect Prom Date. Some of Strasser's work has been seen as controversial and criticized for being racist. In 2016, Simon & Schuster pulled his book American Terrorist from their list of upcoming releases because many reviewers thought it was Islamophobic. He lives in Westchester County, New York, with his wife.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.